Hello and welcome to my video. Right, so the other evening I saw a sky. Now, it was an interesting sky, probably not as interesting as this one that I'm putting on the screen now, which is one of the paintings that I'm actually giving to one of my patrons. And that should be off in the post in about another week, I think. But the sky that I saw, it was, I suppose, sort of a, well, mid to late evening. Not dark, but interesting. And the colours were quite incredible. And I really want to try and introduce you to skies that aren't just dramatic clouds. Sometimes, he said, kicking the furniture, hang on a minute. Sometimes a sky can be interesting and quite flat. So let's have a go at that. Oh, and the clouds don't have to be white, they can be dark. This colour that I'm going to put on here, this is made from royal blue, red ochre, white, what else it got in there? Cadmium orange, well, no, it's orange vermilion, I think. Orange vermilion. There will be Payne's grey, so let's see what we get. I'm using the current medium that I use, which is linseed oil with a drying agent thrown in. And I sort of mixed these up. I can't give you the quantities. Eventually I'll get I keep saying it, I'll get a webcam, I beg your pardon, a palette cam installed when I figure out the technology. But it was a strange coloured sky. And oh, I should say, this may be the last painting that I do on this particular wobbly easel. I've ordered a new easel that should be here, I don't know, maybe in about a week, and it's a solid studio easel, and contrary to a lot of belief, they're not that expensive. It's just over, I don't know, it's about 120 euros, something like that, but I've seen the reviews on it, and you'll see it next time. When I paint, I'll give you a little overview of it. So, as usual, I'm just putting the colour on very, very thinly. Don't want any lumps of paint. I want to be able to work into what I'm painting without making a mess. So, there we are. There's the start of what I would call an interesting coloured sky. It's going to be, what is it going to be down there? I don't know. Seascape? Maybe a beachscape. It's the sky that I'm interested in at the moment, so I won't think about the land yet until I figure out what goes with it. It's good to have this kind of freedom, I have to say, so you don't get sort of get held back. You know, you don't. I don't start a painting. Well, mostly I don't start a painting thinking, what am I going to do with the landscape or the salad under the sky. I think maybe the horizon will be about there, I suppose. That'll give us a feeling that we're slightly raised up, looking down. And let's just see what happens. So there's this colour that I'm putting on. You see that down here, I'm just putting the colour on quite dryly so that I can put another colour on top. Now, when you use yellows and blues in a sky, or a hint of yellow, you want to sort of stay slightly away from green. You can have some green in the sky. I've seen green skies. I'm sure at some time you may have seen green skies. I have actually, though, I've had people say you can't have a green sky. Well, you can. Thunderstorm type skies, pre-thunderstorm skies can have green in, and very, very, what shall I say, verdant sunsets can have every colour under the rainbow in them if you want. Okay, so let's see what we get. Anyway, it's good. It's best to avoid a bright green where possible. So there we are, very dry paint. Yeah, I'm not. It's been a good easel, this, and there's actually nothing wrong with it. It's just that they're not made for this kind of brutal treatment, I suppose. Not that I'm particularly brutal, but aggressive. My style of painting is, I suppose, aggressive. This is 3mm thick. I think it's 3mm. It looks about 3mm thick plywood. And the wood that I use is called a kumi. Don't use pine. I've said all this before, but you know me by now, I suppose. I do repeat stuff. I've often been accused of repeating things, but it's the way to learn. Okay, so there's some stuff. There's a bit of stuff in the sky. What should we do down the bottom edge of the sky? Well, I suppose it'll get slightly lighter, so let's put in a little bit more white. So just a slightly paler version of what I've got on there. Very, very slight though, nothing too much. I don't want it to be an aggressive sky, let's put it that way. So there's a slightly creamy colour down the bottom there. This is a 7cm, I suppose you could call it a chip brush. They're the ones that I tend to use mostly, big cheap brushes. This cost no more than about €2, 2 point something. 2 point not a lot. There we are, there's a bit of light down there for later. There we go. Now let's get some blue in it and see what that does. So a little bit more medium and a bit of blue. Same brush, don't bother wiping it. So if you wipe it too much, you'll end up with what I call a sky that is too careful. And I don't want a sky that is too careful. So let's just shove in a little bit of blue up there. I know I'm in the way. Apologies. I thought of getting a shirt actually, an old one, and stretching this bit on a bit of board and painting a picture on it so you get something to look at while I'm painting. But as usual with this sort of idea, they just sort of fade away. So there's a little touch of blue there. Now what should we do? Let's increase that just a little bit. Very, very dry paint, as you can see. This is a mood sky. Slightly contemplative mood type sky, I suppose. There we are. So we've got a little bit of coverage there now. So let's just start doing a little bit of overall blending, a little bit down there. I noticed in my last video that my wire on my hat, I've got my microphone on my hat, I noticed that the wire was poking out all the way through. And I did notice at the end of, it was a Zoom class, I noticed at the end of the class some of the comments that people made. So I think somebody said, should we tell him his wire's poking out? They didn't, but it wasn't actually in the way, it just looks as though it is, or was. So, paper, and all I'm going to do with that, but before I go on, I've got to check for reflections. Well, believe it or not, I have actually moved the light slightly, but I think it's okay. It is lighter over that side of the painting. So. Me and lighting. Oh well, let's carry on. So all I'm going to do with this paper is just sort of go over it in little circles, like this, just to remove any brush marks and to sort of get a slightly more gentle blend. You can blend with a brush, but it's one of those things where you may start and then you'll find that you're going for hours trying to get some kind of nice soft moody blend. Doesn't always work. It can actually hold you back. That's looking flatter. I'm after flat basically, not necessarily a blend, just flatness. So let's take some of this blue and push a little bit up there. There we are. So there's no thick paint whatsoever. And when I've done this, I'll go over it with a big brush to smooth it down before I start putting in the very few clouds that will actually be in the picture. There won't be many. A few wisps of dark cloud, because sometimes when you get a sky like this that is basically projecting quite a sort of even but strongish light, your clouds will look dark in front of it. So let's see what we get. Let's just do a little bit more there. That's my very faint blue area. It is very faint. I mean, I'm constantly looking in the viewfinder of my camera to see what it looks like small, because that can be very revealing. Okay, I think that's reasonably even for now. It may get evener. New word. New video, new word. So what's the next thing we're going to do? Right, we're going to get a big brush. Not massive, because I'm a bit low on brushes. Couldn't get out for a while because I had flu, a really nasty flu. And of course, as you get older, it takes a little while longer to get over flu. Okay. And then I sliced my thumb, which is healed up now almost completely. That's one thing I will say about me, and that is that when I cut myself, I heal very quickly. That's a good sign. There we go. There's a nice... there's so little paint on there that there's basically nothing on the brush. It's just a little bit on the edge. So there we go. That's nice and flat looking. You may hear noises in the background. That's the studio cat, otherwise known as Tiger Lily, and she's having an attack of the zoomies, running around like a possessed cat. Okay, so it's, I think personally, I mean, it may be only me, I don't know, I think that's actually quite an interesting colour. Let's do some up and downing on it, just to sort of make a change. Okay, now with a sky like this, as I was saying, you will get clouds, little wispy bits. Now, when I'm smoothing, I don't use the tip of the brush. I use the sides and I turn my hand, right? But there are some spots just down this edge here, and I'm just going to sort of push a little bit of paint onto them just to sort of calm them down a bit. Okay, right, nice ethereal looking sky. This is the bit where it gets deeply interesting to me, and that is the same brush I used originally, but I'll just give it a little bit of a wipe. Obviously no thinners, no turpentine. Oh, I've had some comments from people who say that they'd like to do oil painting, but they can't take the smell. Well, oil paint mixed with linseed oil basically doesn't have much of a smell. I know some people are sensitive to linseed oil, so you know, obviously if you have a problem with it, avoid it. But if you don't have an issue with linseed, oil paint, which is paint mixed with linseed oil, and when you add linseed oil, you're basically diluting it a bit. It doesn't smell. And okay, another quick look in the camera there. All right, happy with that. Before I put the clouds on, I'm going to do a little bit more work at the bottom edge of the sky there, just to get some distant cloudery. Now, there's several ways to do that. One is to use paint, Or the other way is to use a bit of paper, which is what I'm going to try first. And all I'm going to do is just take away a little bit of paint down there just by rubbing it off, basically. Just take it away. Just puts in some very distant whitish clouds. Totally random, just move the paper around just to get, you know, you're not trying to be perfect. In fact, for this style of painting, don't try and be perfect at all. Don't even wait till you've progressed through the painting. Keep it nice and loose as long as you can. Believe me, you'll thank me later. There we go. There's some little hints of fluffy clouds down on the horizon there, which, regardless of whether the sun's going down or the sun's coming up, that will usually be the lighter part of the sky. So there we are. Doesn't get much easier than that, does it? I'm still not sure. I'd say I probably will do a beach scene, and I'll show you a couple of the tricks that help get perspective in it. I want to bring this side down a bit, or that side up a bit. What shall I do? Let's think about this in real time, rather than when I finish the painting. It's always a good thing, that. Try to do it. Get your main issues sorted out early on. I'm just going to pull this side down, I think, rather than take that side up. So let's find the brush. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, is it that one? No, it's not that one. The heck do I do with it? Okay. So all I'm doing is just lowering that edge. You tend to need to do this, particularly when it's a seascape, for obvious reasons. The earth is not flat. There we are, that's all it takes, just a few dabs. And it's problem solved. Okay, another go with the paper along the bottom edge. Just to take off the slightly dark areas, just to introduce a little bit more light into it. There we go, I think that might do. That'll be fine for now anyway. Okay, and then a quick bash just to smooth it a bit. Okay, now I might put a hint of the sun in this when I've done everything else. And if you watched my last video, you may know that I'm slightly against putting the sun in. I don't mind showing the effect of the sun in relation to a cloud that it might be hiding behind. So maybe we'll do that, but that'll be right at the end. So the next stage is to get some wispy, slightly wispy, okay, so this is one of the wispiest. As I said earlier, I haven't been out much for a few weeks because of the flu, so I haven't really managed to fill up my brush drawer, so let's see what we can do. Right, so dark clouds, Payne's grey mixed with some of the stuff that I've already mixed, which is yellow ochre, royal blue, orange vermilion, a bit of white, and believe it or not, a bit of red ochre. Who would have thought you could use brown in the sky? It's a very interesting colour, brown. It makes well, red ochre with a bit of white it makes sort of pinky colour. Right, so where should we start? Where will we put the cloud? Let's have one there. just as a start. Nothing finalised. So let me think of the shape of the clouds. What's the cloud going to do? Right, there's going to be something blowing off up that way. Blowing off might be a bad choice of words, if you know what I mean. Okay, let's have another hint of a dark cloud going off the edge there. Now, when I've put these on, these are the clouds in their raw form. When I put these on, I'll go over it again with the blending brush just to knock it back a bit. And so I'll be adding layers, I suppose. Everything's done in layers. Let's have, let me think. Think out loud. Where do I want to see some clouds? I'm standing there. Okay, I've got the general feel of the sky that I saw the other night. I think there was like a bit of a cloud bank down here. Oh, well, just while I've got your attention, if you're still here, I do Zoom classes, and I'll put a link below if you want to get involved in a Zoom class. At the end of the Zoom class, some people will have painted along with me. And when they do this, they email me as soon as I finish. They email me a picture of their painting, and then I call it up on my computer, and then they can see me tweaking their painting in Photoshop to show them what I think might help to improve their picture. And one of my students, a delightful chap from America called William, he painted a picture, and then I tweaked it. And now I'll have to look to find his original. I hope I'll be able to find his original, but if I can find his original, that's what he painted there. And then what I did, I put it, as I said, in Photoshop, and then I made it look like this, so that he can then go back over the painting, and if he likes, he can change it, or he can paint a new picture based on what I've sent him. Anyway, when I tweaked his picture, as I said, it came out looking quite interesting. So what I'm thinking of doing is painting a picture based on the tweaking that I gave William. So that may be the next video. Let's have a bit of dark cloud down there as well. Just something here. I think that's it. Let's not go too far. Always stop earlier than you would expect. It can save an awful lot of trouble. So there we are. We've got a little hint of sky there. Let's have a little bit more red and brown, because sometimes with a light like that in the sky, you may get a brown, well, a reddish, dark reddish type of cloud. So there's one with a little bit of red in it, just there. See what that does. Looks okay. Don't overdo it. You're after something that looks multifaceted. Let's have a little touch of brown just there. Little dib dabs just to make it look as though the cloud is actually fragmenting slightly. I've been wanting to paint a sky like this for quite some time, but generally when I paint, I really like to sort of literally roll my sleeves up and just get in there and do something large and, well, stormy, basically. I like stormy skies. So there we go. There's a start of a very simple sky. Now, if you've never painted skies before, have a go at this. You might like it. And it's good to learn early on, as I say to many of my students, don't do the predictable stuff. The stuff they taught you in school when you were very young, which may be the only time that you've painted, you may have this thing stuck in your head about clouds being white on a blue background. Well, you know, some are, but The interesting ones aren't. They are doing other stuff. It's all about light. Let's have another hint of something there. Yep. That's working well. Now there's a flow. I'm trying to get a flow into it. I've got a flow going that way, but on the ground I want a flow coming that way. You probably couldn't see my left hand. One hand was going that way and one was going that way. So it's going to draw you into the picture. And I think I'm going to put the sun behind a cloud, just poking out, just a little hint of it in the simplest way that I can do it. Now, there is this picture on the screen now, which is a very stormy sky I painted some time ago. You might have already seen it. There is a bit of a very bad video on it somewhere on in my YouTubes. Let's say the sun is going to be near this cloud here. So we just put a little dark splodge there. Okay, that's all you want. Now I'm going to go over the whole thing very quickly. I'm trying to get painting earlier on in my videos. Sometimes I start a video and I'm talking in the beginning, and I'm probably talking too much. Some people tell me that I talk too much, but there is a volume control if you really don't like it. But the thing about YouTube, you've got to keep people's attention, because on my statistics I can see that the average attention span for a lot of viewers, now it may not, it's no reflection on them, so to speak, it's just they want to see painting soon. So there are times I think, oh, stop talking, just get on with it. That's why I started this one reasonably quickly, just to sort of make sure that it gets past the 13-minute stage. It's usually around 13 minutes that people drop off, unless they're really interested in what I'm doing. And then I know for a fact that a lot of my regular viewers hang on right to the end, which is great. So thank you for that if you're one of those people. There we go. There's a very quick evening sky. So now if I'm going to paint the sea, right, the sky's blue, the clouds are white, sea's blue. No, it isn't. It may have some blue in it. It may have green or grey. It can have all kinds of colours. So this one may be reflecting this sky, but there may be a spot or two in the water where it's actually a slightly different colour. So what I'm going to do, the same sky colours, but just with a little bit more blue added. Don't go over the top with this. Okay, so this is a bluey browny greyish colour. So let's just do it, see what happens, eh? Let's have that. No, it's too dark. Okay, let's just shove a bit more white in that. Okay, let's just have a little think for a moment. Where am I going to do this? How am I going to do it? Right, we're on a sandbank. Let's try that. So there's my bluey colour, which is by no means necessarily the final colour. That looks like a good one. Now, if you want to paint a horizontal line across your painting, again, I've said this before, if you stand to the left or even the centre of the picture and you do this, straight across like that, it'll wobble. So what you do is you stand in front of the painting, fix your arm, basically fix your arm like that, and move your whole body, sway from one leg to the other. Now, it means getting in the way. I'll try doing it so that you can see, but I can't guarantee it. So starting over there, if I just sort of put that on there, and I shift my whole body, I'll get a more horizontal line. So that's what I did there. A lot of that will disappear in a minute. It's just a colour to work into. So let's just have a little bit of what is going to be sea here, with a few marks in it to allow me to work some white into it. Okay, let's sort of It's about the right angle I want. And maybe some of that will cut into the land just a bit more there, and then go off and do its thing down here. Okay, I think I'm going to point the camera down a bit, better positioned, so that the sand is going to, I think I'll reflect. Let's reflect the colour a bit. How are we going to do that? Right, well, we've got the original brush. Let's put some, which has got grey on it. So keep in mind that I'm not cleaning the brushes. I'm just putting a load of orange on that. And then I'm going to put a load of yellow ochre onto that. As usual, not so much oil that it drips, just enough to make it mobile. So let's see what we can do with a sort of sandy area. Now, where will the sand go? How far away will it go? Is there going to be see either side of this sandbar? I don't know. I really don't know. Let's just get that on there, and then just take it up to the horizon almost, and then one of the tricks for water next to sand is to pull them into each other like this. Just shove that down there. At the moment, you see, I'm not painting anything, I'm just applying colour. Well, I'm painting, I suppose, but I'm not trying to actually make anything. I'm just wiggling my wrist around a bit. There we are, water and sand mixed. You know, when you stand on the seashore and you look where the water is shallow, hitting the beach, you can see the beach through the water. That's what I'm after there. I may put a few little waves on it, but we'll see. This is really just a few marks to sort of draw you up here where the sun will go. The sun will go somewhere behind that cloud there. Okay, so let's just completely pull these together. Now, if you paint a beach and then you paint water next to it, and then you put basically, I hate to say it because I don't like to criticise people, I'd rather encourage, but some people think that waves are made out of you curling your brush like this. They're not, they're structured. Waves are structured. If you're a very realistic water painter, and there are groups on Facebook if you're interested, ocean painters, oil paintings of the ocean, stuff like that. If you do a search on Facebook, you'll find a group that will show you that sort of thing. And I don't do that because, well, if I'm absolutely honest, I don't want to. I could do it. I know that I could do it if I sat down long enough and sat still enough for the blood to stop flowing in my legs. Then yeah, I could probably do it. Well, I could do it, but I have no desire to do it. Okay, so where the sea and the land meet, okay, I beg your pardon, the sea and the sky meet, let's just pull them together just a tad more. Hope I'm out the way. I think I'm generally out the way. I like paintings of the sea. I like paintings of the sea that have life in them. And to get life in them takes quite a lot of skill. Much more difficult than skies, I think. Okay, so what should we do here? I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because I've made a mistake. I'm going to turn it into something. Okay, I'm just going to put a touch of blue on the tip of the brush, and I think we might just have a mountain in the distance, or a shoreline over there, something. Let's make it a little bit more prominent. Let's have a little bit of a bump there. Okay. For the heck of it. Now I know it's sloping down there, it's like there's a bend in the ocean, but I've got plans for that. And that involves a few clouds. Okay, so over on the right, what should we do? Let's have a little thinkette. Right, let's just sort of fill up the white gaps. Okay, there's a bit more sea colour over there, and then step back and crouch down. Okay, just the reason I'm doing that is to look at what's going on with the horizon. It's very important that your horizon is horizontal. Okay, so now the water over here. What are we going to do there? How are we going to do that? I think we're going to put the odd white streak on there. But remember what I said earlier, it's not just a white streak. It's got to have a white streak that has a little bit of a, how do I put it? It's got to have a bit of life in it. So let's try and do that. I don't want anything bold and brassy because that's where I want you to go, up there. And I don't want you to look at that bristle that's sticking there in the sky, so I'll just take that off. Okay, so down here, just the odd twinkle of water. Don't want to overdo anything. I want it just to be quite pastel-y, in fact. Just a little hint, because that's in the distance. And the water now, the sand here, let's have a little bit of light catching the top. So what colour do I use for that? Well, yellow, ochre and white. I want it to head towards a pale, pastel-y, white sandy colour. And let's try this effect where we use lead-in lines in a few places. And again, nothing too dramatic, just things to point you. And then I think over on the right-hand side, I think I will, what will I do? Okay, it's a bit of an odd-shaped beach, see, because most people, when they do this, they have they'll paint a scene and they have a wedge shape, which is the sea, either here or there. In other words, horizon, beach, and then a wedge shape there. Now, I want to avoid that a little bit. So I'm going to put in a few, not with that brush I'm not. Let's try again. I'm going to put in just a few little highlights on the sand. I know where my sun is going to go. So let's just put a test spot there. Maybe a bit more to the right. But actually, I don't think so. I'm going to do that. That may look like not a lot at the moment. But how about we just bring that down a bit, take that sideways, put in another wave or two over there. And that will be, you'll see what that's for in a moment. Hopefully, anyway. So poking below the cloud, this is one of these things where you do need to try and get it in the right place on the painting and on the first go. So what I'm going to do is just directly above that, is I'm going to put a bit of light like so. Flying jellyfish. Doesn't always work, but it's okay because, as I always tell people, nothing is lost. That is okay, I can get away with that. It's what's going on below it. It's just a little bit not what I want, so I'm just going to do this. Trying to get a little reflection, not like a, what do they call it? Not like a beam from the heavens. Let's just do some work there. Let's just get a bit of light underneath that, and then do something with this. I'm still not happy with that, so I'm going to stretch that a little bit. Okay. Bit more sandy colour. I think what's disturbing me is that white area that I've left here. So I'm going to take the beach over that way. With a few marks in it. Okay, and then some dark shadows. Now, sand in shadow is quite an interesting colour. It tends to lean towards a sort of greeny, grey sort of shadow. So that's what I'm going to do by adding Payne's grey. Let's see what we can do with that. Let's have a bit of a dune. Just a bit of shadow there might do it. Take it right across to here. And then I think we'll build that up. Don't really mind what happens to that at the moment. Okay, and then a few shapes that look as though they're dropping away. Slightly more red in it. Bit of sculpting there, I think that might do it. It's almost like there's a track on the sand. Does it need a boat? Good question. Don't think I'll be boating today. Let's get some red into the ground, into the sand. Now you may think this is a very strange way to paint a beach. Well, some beaches are completely flat and some aren't. This one isn't. I might even do a ridge coming along there, but let's see. Let me see, I've got quite a reddish colour on here now. What am I going to do with this reddish colour? I think I'm going to put it over there. Why not? Why not indeed? Right, now these colours, the white that I put on there, I've got a complete change of mind there. So I'm just going to sort of make texture. Like I said, I want people to go here. Let's just be a little bit creative with my skyline there, because I think we could have a bit of sea just poking over the top there. So let's have a bit of land back there. Okay, right, same brush. I don't think I've wiped this one once yet. So what am I going to do with it? I'm going to do a few lead-in lines. slight little bit of crispness just on the horizon there. Okay. And then I think back to the sun. Now I'm going to try a few little things with the sun. Because I'm not finished with it, I can do anything I like, doesn't matter what I do. So I think those are real rummaging sounds, by the way. I don't add rummaging sounds. Okay, what am I going to do? All right, I think I'm going to just do this to the sun. Until I'm happy. Which can take a long time, although it's usually over pretty quickly. Right, so the next thing is to put a little bit of white on the top edge of this cloud about here. That should do it, I think. And then do the same thing, but swipe upwards. Okay, so we've swiped up and we've swiped down. Not happy with the upward one yet, so I'm going to scumble it and then pull it. Better. Same thing here, scumble it and pull it down. And then sideways. And then I'll put some cloud back over that with the cloud brush, which I don't have anymore, so I'll use the one I just used. So this is Payne's grey and a bit of everything else thrown in. Payne's grey, red, a tiny bit of red ochre, and a little bit of cadmium, I beg your pardon, orange vermilion. So I'm going to reform the cloud, and then I'll add the hot spot. So there's my cloud. Let's just get it's the edge between the cloud and the bright spot that I'm interested in. Okay. Then an overall swipe, very quickly though, don't want to hang about with this. Barely touching it. Okay, so I've got a sort of beginning of a bright spot. Still got this aversion to painting the sun, but maybe that will go away. Maybe I think I'll make it bigger. That's what my problem is, it's too small. Meaning that the cloud is too small. So let's just increase the cloud a bit. So there's just a hint of a bit of light at the top. Let's spread a few more of these dib-dabs across. Technical word that, dib-dabs. They are dabs without too much dabbery. Hence dib-dabs. There we go. That's more after what I want. So I'm going to try adding the sun with a brush. I quite like using a palette knife because the paint, when you apply it, sits on the paint that you've already painted on the picture. When you do it with a brush, it digs in a bit. But if I'm careful, which means that you can be, I can just get hint of the sun showing below the cloud. Maybe a bit more. Is it too big? Is it too small? I don't know. It's a little bit too small. So I'm going to just increase that just a tad. Doesn't have to be round, you see. This is just a bit of sun twinkling. And then just to sort of carry that through, you've got to find directly below it. You cannot be off. When you do things like this, you've got to be as close as heck. I don't know how close heck is, but it's close. Okay, so let's have a few little twinklies on the ground just below it. Totally don't like that. See, you've always got to be ready to fix. And it's easily done. There you are, there's a fix. Maybe I won't put any twinklies on the ground until it's dry. Does it? No, actually, maybe it doesn't even need them. I wonder. Not sure. Let's have another go. The thing about painting is repetition. You've got to keep doing it until you get it right. Okay, let's be a little bit more. Trouble is, you see, I'm standing over here. I could get in the way, and then I could do it, and then you'll see it. Perhaps I'll do that, because standing to the right, left of it is not easy. So excuse my back for a moment. Okay. Right, and now that's sort of close-ish. I might work on that later. The next thing I'm going to do is a bit more sea effect. I don't want the main focus to be on the sea, but I think it does need a few little highlights. So, a palette knife, and just a few little wave indications just along here. This is actually not that difficult to do. I'm far happier painting weeds and foliage, but occasionally you've got to push the edge slightly, push the boundaries. And in fact, when I've finished this, I might even paint over it and turn it into a landscape, because that's my passion, I think, landscape. Seascapes are okay, occasionally. Speaking for myself, of course. Some people only want to paint seascapes, but I'm happy just with the land. There we are, some very, very distant waves disappearing off over there. And then I think I might bring the water up the beach. So much for me not doing a wedge. I did the wedge. Oh well, never mind. I can safely say that this is not a beach in the UK. I guarantee someone will comment that I've seen it in the UK, and I think I probably know where. The Gower Peninsula, South Wales. You do get some big beaches. But you'd be lucky to get the weather. It rains. It rains a lot in Wales. Admittedly, in the last 20 years, I've only been there, well, what, twice? And it rained both times. Okay, there's a few waves. Not sure about the beach at the moment. What shall I do with the beach? Maybe I'll just leave it. This is the sky really that I'm trying to get over, but also, you know, I do have the desire to make it into a good painting if I can. Over there, I don't know. Let's try. Not really sure what this is, but let's just pull it across a few times like that. A few lines there will increase the feeling of perspective. Let's just pull that down a bit there, muck that up a bit. Okay, nice. I'm really trying to push it sort of back as much as possible. I like the effect of the waves. I mean, that's coming along, but I'm still fighting to calm it down. I want it calm. Let's see if we can. Okay, let's try this. Let's put a few wet patches down there, and then just basically whack it. Right, so it's almost in a mist. Right, now let's hit the horizon a little bit. Again, for the idea of knocking it down. Again, attention I want here, right? So let's just fiddle with the horizon just a tad. Okay, so a hill often will look blue like that. It's not a white hump in the sea. It's supposed to be a distant hill. I think the beach is calmed enough. Tiny hint of light just through there, that's it. Getting there. In fact, I might have got there. That could be it, I think. What else do I need to do? Let me just have a little think. I'll zoom back. And I think that may be it. I did it because some people have asked for something different. So there is something different for you. But I don't know, perhaps you can see why I like painting landscapes. I just want to do something with that, just that. Yeah, I think I'll probably leave it at that. Okay, so if you'd like to come to lessons, as usual, there'll be a link below. Do 2 Zoom classes a month. I've got a good regular group of around about, I think it averages about 20 people. They come from all over the place, America, some from the UK, France, where else? I think that's it. And it's a good laugh. We have a good session usually, well, every time. And then after I've painted for an hour, we'll chat. I look at people's pictures. I tweak them, give advice, generally shoot the breeze, as they say. And no politics. It's all about painting. So there we are. And I hope you've enjoyed this. And I hope you've learned something. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.